Are you getting up at night to pee again? Feeling that dull pressure down there, or a weaker stream you never used to have? Men over 50 often assume it's just aging, but in my clinic I see a different pattern. Everyday habits quietly irritating the prostate long before the diagnosis. I'm Dr. Barbara O'Neill, a board-certified urologist, and today I'll show you 3 common foods that can inflame your prostate and the simple swaps most men overlook. Stay with me because the real enemy may be sitting in your kitchen. Tell me where you're watching from, and if this helps, consider liking and subscribing so I can keep guiding men like you. But here's what most people don't realize, the drink you think is safe can keep your prostate on alert for hours, even if it looks healthy on the label. I see this all the time with good men who are genuinely trying. They've cleaned up their meals, they've cut back on junk, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and yet they're still waking up at night, shuffling to the bathroom in the dark, trying not to wake their wife, staring at the ceiling afterward, wondering why their body won't just let them sleep. And when they finally sit across from me and say, "Doc, I'm up 2-3 times a night," I can almost predict what comes next. They'll tell me about the pills they've tried, the supplements, the prostate formula their friend swears by. But the first thing I ask is simple, and it surprises them. Walk me through what you drink in a normal day, especially after lunch. Because your prostate doesn't just react to obvious bad foods. It reacts to irritation, to sugar spikes, to stimulation, to anything that pokes the bladder and keeps that whole system activated when it should be winding down. One of the most common triggers is the healthy drink. Sweetened iced tea, flavoured waters, fruit juices, smoothies, even certain sports drinks. Men tell me it's natural, or it's just juice. But your body doesn't read the marketing. Your body reads the sugar load, and liquid sugar hits fast. It can drive inflammation throughout the body, and inflammation is where prostate symptoms like urgency and nighttime waking love to live. Then there's the second punch, caffeine and additives. Maybe it's a mid-afternoon coffee. Maybe it's a green tea for antioxidants. Maybe it's an energy drink because you've been feeling tired lately. But caffeine can irritate the bladder lining and increase urgency. So even if your prostate is only mildly enlarged, you feel like you have to go right now. And that's how men slowly start living on a bathroom schedule, planning car rides, dinners, even simple errands around the nearest restroom. Here's what I tell my patients, and I want you to do this with me like a real experiment, not a vague promise. For the next 10 days, cut sweetened drinks and caffeine after noon. Not forever, just 10 days. Switch to water, herbal tea, or even diluted lemon water if you need flavour. And track one thing, how many times you wake up at night to urinate. Most men are shocked, not because it becomes perfect overnight, but because they finally see the connection. That 4 p.m. habit that felt harmless was quietly stealing their sleep at 2 a.m. And once you see that link, you'll start to wonder what else has been hiding in plain sight, because the next trigger is even more frustrating. It's sitting on your healthy breakfast plate, and most men have no idea it can aggravate the prostate. Now here's the mistake most seniors make. They think clean eating automatically protects the prostate, and I understand why. You're not living on fast food, you're not deep frying everything, you're trying. So when symptoms show up, urgency, that weak stream, the nighttime wake-ups, it feels unfair, like your body is betraying you even though you've been doing the right things. But in my office, I hear the same sentence from good men over and over. "Doc, I eat pretty clean." And then they describe a breakfast that's been marketed for decades as responsible. Cereal, toast, muffins, granola bars, maybe some whole grain crackers on the side. Quick, easy, familiar. It feels harmless because it's not greasy. It feels healthy because the box says heart healthy, low fat, or made with whole grains. But your body doesn't care about the label. Your body cares about what happens in the bloodstream after you eat it. Many of these breakfast staples are refined carbohydrates that digest fast and hit like a sugar surge. And when blood sugar spikes, the body answers with a hormonal response that, over time, can feed systemic inflammation. And inflammation doesn't just live in one place. It shows up in joints, it shows up in energy, it shows up in the prostate and bladder too. That's why some men notice a subtle pattern: a normal breakfast, an afternoon crash, more thirst, more bathroom trips, then a restless night where the bladder feels bossy and the sleep never feels deep. And here's the part most men don't connect. When your sleep gets fragmented, your hormones suffer. Testosterone isn't just about performance. It's tied to confidence, vitality, mood, and recovery. So prostate irritation can start this quiet chain reaction: disrupted sleep, lower energy, lower drive, more stress. And stress itself can tighten the pelvic floor and amplify urinary symptoms. It becomes a loop that keeps feeding itself. I'm not saying carbs are evil. I'm saying your prostate and metabolism don't want to be whipped back and forth all day. So here's your calm down experiment for the next 2 weeks. Replace just one breakfast item. Swap sugary cereal for plain Greek yogurt with berries and a handful of nuts. Or swap toast and muffins for eggs and avocado. Or swap granola bars for nuts and a piece of fruit. Not a diet, not punishment. Just a signal to your body that the morning doesn't have to begin with inflammation. And once you feel that difference, the next trigger will hit even closer to home. Because the third food is the one men defend the most. They love it. It's social, it's normal, but it may be the biggest everyday trigger of all, especially at night. But here's what most people don't realize. The thing you reach for at night to relax may be the very thing keeping your prostate irritated and your sleep broken. And if you're dealing with a weak stream, dribbling, urgency, or that maddening feeling of, I just went, why do I feel like I still have to go? Then this matters more than you think. Because this nighttime irritant doesn't just poke the bladder, it can fragment deep sleep quietly. And when deep sleep goes, everything gets harder. Let's talk about evenings, man to man. For many men over 50, nighttime is the only time the world finally calms down. Dinner's done, the phone stops buzzing, you find your chair, your show, your routine. And I get it, life is heavy. You've carried responsibilities for a long time. So when you pour a drink or reach for certain comfort foods, it doesn't feel like a bad habit. It feels like relief. But your bladder and prostate don't interpret it as comfort. They interpret it as a signal. Alcohol is the classic example. Even a couple of drinks can increase urine production, irritate the bladder lining, and disrupt deep restorative sleep. So the pattern starts. You fall asleep, then wake up with urgency. You go, you come back, your sleep gets lighter, you wake again. The next day you're tired, so you lean on caffeine and the cycle tightens. Meanwhile, inflammation rises, hormones get less stable, and the prostate becomes more reactive. That's why men will tell me, Doc, it's worse at night, and they're right, because nighttime is where this spiral shows up most clearly. And it's not just alcohol. Spicy, acidic, and heavily processed dinners can do it too. For some men, tomato-heavy sauces, vinegar-based foods, and hot spices increase urgency or pelvic discomfort. Not because you're weak, but because your system is already sensitive, and those foods are like sandpaper on an irritated lining. So here's a simple test I use with my patients. A prostate-friendly evening for 7 nights. Finish alcohol at least 4 hours before bed, or skip it for the week. Choose a calmer dinner, lean protein, cooked vegetables, and a simple carb like rice or potatoes. And stop fluids 90 minutes before bedtime. Small sips are fine. Then watch what happens to nighttime urgency. And here's the surprising part. Even if you remove these triggers, there's one overlooked factor that determines whether your prostate actually recovers or stays irritated. I'll explain that next. But here's what most people don't realize. 2 men can eat the same meal, drink the same drinks, and only one walks away with symptoms. That's not luck. It's not willpower. And it's not about being more sensitive. It's biology. And it's the reason I never look at food alone when I'm helping a man with prostate issues, because the foods you eat are only one part of the equation. The real answer lies deeper in how your body is primed to handle them. You see, your prostate doesn't live in isolation. It lives in a tightly packed reactive neighborhood. The bladder, pelvic floor muscles, nerves, blood vessels, and connective tissues. All of it works as a unit. And if the pressure in that system rises, if inflammation creeps in, if your muscles stay clenched, if stress and poor sleep lock your body into a state of high alert, then even a minor food irritant can hit like a freight train. In my practice, the men who improve fastest aren't the ones eating perfectly. They're the ones who start releasing the pressure. They walk daily, even just 20 minutes, to circulate blood, reduce metabolic waste, and lower systemic inflammation. They protect their sleep like it's medicine, because it is. Restorative sleep is when hormones rebalance, when tissue heals, when inflammation drops. And they learn how to calm the pelvic floor, not with force, but with breath, with gentle release, with the kind of body awareness that men are rarely taught but desperately need. So here's what I recommend. Pick a 14-day plan. Cut the one food or drink you suspect is your top trigger. Walk after dinner, 10 to 20 minutes, nothing heroic. And before bed, do 3 minutes of slow belly breathing. That's it. Then track your nighttime urination. Track that dull pressure. You don't need to control everything. You just need to give your body the space to shift. Now let me speak to you man to man, because if you're scared that it's too late, this next part is exactly what I tell my patients in private. I want you to hear me clearly. Just because you're dealing with prostate symptoms doesn't mean you're broken, and it definitely doesn't mean your best years are behind you. I've seen it time and time again. Men in their 50s, 60s, even into their 70s turning things around. Not because they chased the perfect diet, not because they overhauled their lives overnight, but because they finally gave their body the right environment to heal. You don't need to be perfect. You need something simple that you can actually repeat. And I also want to say this, because most men don't. Waking up at night, feeling drained, questioning your drive, wondering if this is just what aging feels like, it hits deeper than most will admit. It can quietly chip away at your confidence, but I promise you, there is power in taking control. Even small steps, steadier sleep, calmer nights, smarter meals, compound faster than you think. Stick with me to the end, because I'm going to close the loop from the very beginning and show you exactly where to start. If you found this valuable, join our community and subscribe so you never miss future guidance designed for men like you. This channel is your space for honest, no-pressure conversations about the real challenges men over 50 face: prostate health, testosterone, energy, performance, and deep restorative sleep, without shame, without hype, and without judgment. Now, to close the loop from the very beginning, the real enemy of your prostate isn't one big mistake. It's the small, everyday irritants, those normal habits repeated for years without knowing the impact. That afternoon drink, that rushed breakfast, that late night choice. But here's the good news. They're also the easiest to change. Start with the 10-day drink test. Clean up the breakfast trap. Calm your evenings. Then support your recovery with walking and sleep. You deserve confidence. You deserve energy. You deserve real rest. Take care of your health because you are worth it.